listening to the Good Talk Podcast with Ryan Ventura.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Good Talk Podcast. I'm your host once again, Ryan Ventura, and I have a very special guest with me, the official cutman of the Battlefield Fight League, and all-around good guy, my friend Rod Wingrove.
That's right.
That's how you pronounce it properly?
Yeah.
I didn't fuck it up.
No, you did perfect, man.
Cheers.
Cheers, bro.
Thanks for bringing the beer.
No problem. My pleasure.
Awesome. So, I have a lot of interesting friends, people that are on music, people that fight, people that are on marketing, pretty much any kind of occupation you can think of.
Yeah.
I have connects to that.
Uh-huh.
So how did you're a unique guy. You're the only cutman that I know personally and actually talk to. So How did you get into this game?
I don't know really how I got into it. Even as a little kid, I was a big boxing fan when I was a kid. And for some reason, even back when I was little, when I'd be watching fights with my dad, I was always interested when it was in between rounds and it would go into the corner.
Mm.
And I always thought that was just kind of cool, and I would always pay extra attention to that. And then I'd see guys working on cuts, even back then. And especially in that day, I'm an 80s baby. I was born in 79. So, the early 80s, there was just some great boxing, but there was also a lot of great cutmen. Mm. If you talk to anyone nowadays who say, who are the greatest cutmen, they're all kind of from that era and the era before. Mm-hmm. And a lot of them were really interesting characters. And there was this one guy in particular, his name was Joe Souza. I don't know if you recognize that name.
Yeah.
He's worked with some of the biggest names in boxing, and he was this little guy, and he had these huge Coke bottle glasses on, and he'd have 3 swabs hanging out of his mouth, one on his ear, fucking one out of his nose, everything. And he always used to get into arguments with the referees and shit, and be fuck off, ref, seriously, And I always just thought this guy was the coolest guy. So
whenever, I know who you're talking about.
Whenever he was on, when I'd see him on TV, I always kind of just was there's this guy, and there's a couple of other guys too. But anyway, so it was always kind of something that interested me, even back then. Mm-hmm. And then I started training MMA years and years ago when Clinch MMA first opened up. Okay. I was one of Sal's original students.
Big shout out to Crew Sal.
And I kind of had this ridiculous idea that, because I was really into MMA at that point, and kind of thought I had an idea of hey, maybe I'll be a fighter sort of thing. So I started training, and then Dennis Kang actually came in to. He was coming off a knee injury. This is before he was in the UFC, and he supposedly has a knee injury, and so he's coming to do some light work with one of the boxing coaches that Sal had at the time. Mm-hmm. And I watched him doing some light sparring and stuff, and doing some strength and conditioning. And watching him work, I was like, oh yeah, hell, I'm never going to be a fighter. That's just, this guy's rehabbing a knee injury, and just watching him put the work in, I'm like, I know I'm never going to be dedicated enough to do something like that.
Yeah.
But being part of the gym, training, being a fan of the sport, I wanted to be involved somehow. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I just kind of went back to, what about being a cutman? I mean, I can't be a coach. I don't know fuck all about that part of it. I can't. You can't teach someone that. So I'm like, maybe I'll be a cutman. And that's kind of where it started. Was just that one day at Sal's gym, watching Dennis Kang do strength and conditioning is the day that I kind of decided that was going to be something I was going to do.
Wow, that's awesome. So you were initially just strictly the cutman for Clinch MMA.
Yeah, originally Sal was the one who kind of gave me my start, and that's how I got into the BFL. But I had done stuff before that. So my actual first real gig was I won't say who it's for. It was in the States, and it was at a casino. Mm-hmm. And I originally got tickets. I got a place there, a trailer sort of thing.
Okay,
there.
cool.
And there's a casino that we go to all the time, and we saw that they had MMA events. Mm-hmm. So me and my dad got tickets, and we went to this event. And so anyway, it was just all amateur MMA or whatever, right?
Okay.
Completely unsanctioned. And I I didn't know the inner workings of how things work yet at that point. But now I look back on it and go, oh my fucking God, Jesus. But anyway, we watch this event, and I end up going and talking to one of the judges, and I didn't want to say who it was because I didn't know if it was him or his brother, but it ended up being Ensign Inoue. I didn't know if it was him. I knew it was one of them.
It was Egan or Ensign.
Yeah, I didn't know which one it was though. So I went up to him just to say like, "Hey, I'm a fan," but I didn't want to, say like, "Hey, Ensign," and it's like that's my brother. So anyway, I end up going talking to him, and I don't know. I was pretty shit-faced by the end of it, and I don't know if he just wanted to get rid of me or if he's just really that nice of a guy, but. He's like, oh, hey, do you fight yourself? And I said, no, I don't fight, but I want to be a cutman.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not why I went and talked to him. I just wanted to go say hi to him.
Mm-hmm.
But the opportunity came, so I'm like, do you have any advice about how to get started? And he goes, hey, and he calls over the promoter of the show. And so the promoter comes over and he's like, hey, this is my friend. He's a cutman. You should hire him for your next show. And I'm like, I'm not a cutman. I've never done it before. Never done anything with it. I don't know exactly what I'm doing, but...
That's awesome.
I'm like, man, fuck yeah. And so the guy goes, this promoter says, okay, well, we usually do a show every couple of months. Have a set date yet, but you want to come to the next show. I can't pay you, but I can give you 2 free tickets. And I'm like, fucking done, man. Like, right on. So I go home, and I'm thinking, fuck, he's never going to call me. Like, whatever, right? So I've already made this decision, so I'm already, like, trying to study up as much as I can. I'm watching YouTube videos, and what I was really doing a lot was going back to my collection of UFC DVDs and fast-forwarding through the fight just to the spots where the cutmen were working. And I'm watching them and taking notes and saying, okay, how they position themselves, how they're like, what they're doing with this cut, what they're doing with this, and sort of thing. What I didn't realize at the time is everyone kind of has their own system.
Yeah.
And it's really tough to just watch some YouTube videos and say, okay, this is how you do it. Knew nothing about the equipment they used or anything. So, but I did have a first aid background. I was a first aid attendant at a lot of the jobs that I had.
Mm-hmm.
And, but sure as shit, man, I got a call from this guy. And he's like, okay, this is the date, this is our thing, so come on down. So I'm like, I'm there. So I get there, and I go walking in the back. I've got literally have my first aid kit with me. and I walk in the back, and I'm like, hey, I'm the cut man. Mm-hmm. What's going on? Let's get these fights going. Guy goes, hey, you're the cut man? Like, yeah. Oh, perfect. Can you wrap my guy?
Oh, shit.
What do you mean, wrap your guy? With what? And he's like, wrap his hands. And I'm like, oh, fuck. I don't know how to wrap hands.
That's like an art in itself.
Oh, dude, that is the art. Like, that's the... Being a cut man, like, working cuts and shit, you and I could spend an afternoon together, mm-hmm. and you would know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Wrapping hands is where the real art is. Working cuts, it's not easy, but it's something that can be learned very quickly. Mm-hmm. It's about actually when the moment happens and you're cage side and the guy's pissing blood and his corner's looking at you to make him better so that he can continue the fight. That's where the experience and shit comes in. But the actual physical skill of working a cut, making the bleeding stop, there's not a whole lot of rocket science to it. But wrapping hands, and a lot of people don't realize that's the main thing that a cutman does. That's what separates the big dogs from the medium level dogs.
That's why they have specific fighters. Like, I know some of the world's top fighters, like in every combat sport, like MMA, boxing, they use people like Stitch Duran to wrap their hands.
Yeah.
Like, I think it was actually Raging Cajun Johnson, like he told me, like when you have your hands wrapped by a guy like that, it's like levels above like most guys that consider themselves like people that can do it.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly. And then when you have a reputation like, say, Stitch does, that adds to that feeling too. Mm-hmm. Like, I could go in and say, I'm not in any way saying that I can, but say I could rap just as perfectly as Stitch. That fighter's still not going to have the same feeling as when I do it as when Stitch is going to do it, because he has that reputation. Mm-hmm. He knows that there's something different about it.
Yeah,
you know
your hands are in good hands when you're being rapped. You're
being rapped by the man. Yeah. This is the man, right? So
might even be a little bit of a placebo effect.
Yeah. Oh, that's right? Exactly what I'm saying. Yeah, 100%. Mm-hmm. Like there's definitely some of that involved. Mm-hmm. But fighting is so mental. I mean, it's all. You take two guys who are of equal strength, equal physical ability, equal endurance, equal skill, everything. What's left? It's the mental aspect of things, and that a lot of times is what decides whether a guy wins a fight or loses a fight. And it comes down to the absolute smallest little things, like getting your hands wrapped and them feeling perfect. You know, you see guys who have gotten their hands wrapped by other people, and they're like, "Yeah, it's okay, man." Mm. But then you see other guys who are wrapped by someone, and they're like, "Fuck yeah, man!" That's one check on the checklist of that guy's going to go in with a good, positive mental mind frame.
Yeah, it's part of like his mental preparation.
Exactly.
Like I've actually talked to like a few fighters that like I've introduced in the past and stuff like that, and they told me that like, you know, part of their mental preparation is like you wrap up their hands, and then I mention their name in the cage. Yeah. Like when I thought about that, I'm like, whoa, like I didn't know like I played that much of a part in your checklist. Yeah. Right? I just figured like, I mean like, okay, let's be honest, like my job's easy as fuck. I just wear a suit, I talk, that's it.
Your job is not easy as fuck, man.
I think it is. I think
you couldn't pay me enough to do what you do, man. Fuck. Especially like. Sometimes you get these guys with weird names and stuff too. Like,
oh yeah, oh dude, like I've butchered like numerous names, like in my on my way to the BFL cage and stuff. Like I was never perfect. Like I fucked up so many names, but like I've gotten to the point where like I invented my own system where like I would like when I do my cue cards, I would spell out their name and like enunciate it. You know, like if someone's like for example, like let's say like the last name's Mo Getem. Right, I would spell it out on my cards. MOGETEM.
Yeah,
you know,
all separate pieces.
All separate, right? I wouldn't spell it out how it's actually spelled. I would spell it out, the way it sounds. Right.
I think that's probably a good way to go.
Right, because like I've butchered like so many names in the past, but yeah, like it's interesting. Like you know, the little things that like we do, like when you wrap their hands, when I like mention the guy's name, when the bell rings, that's all part of like their thing.
It's all part of that mental focus. Right. And even for you, if you fuck up a guy's name, now you would like to think that they're so mentally focused they're not paying attention to that, but I'm sure they are. They can't help but hear it. And you say his name's Mo Getem, and you say it's Mo Betem, and now he goes, "It's not my phone." He's looking at his corner.
I've had that a few times.
And now that's an X on that checklist. Like now he's that fucking guy isn't.
Yeah, and it just kind of like stays at the back of their head for a little bit, like maybe a split second. But that split second like is like the difference of like eating a punch to the chin.
It could be. It 100% could be.
Yeah. I see it.
Yeah. So anyway, getting back to my first event there. So the guy goes, "Yeah, you got to wrap his hands," and so I'm like, "Fuck, okay, I got to do this, right?" Like they're sitting there. I can't say no.
Yeah.
So, which looking back on it, now I would have. Mm-hmm. Now that I realize the importance of it and stuff. But at the time, my mentality was, well, I have to do this. I mean, fake it till you make it, right? Like, but I didn't realize at the time how important that aspect was. So I said, "Fuck it, yeah, I'll wrap his hands." And so I wrapped the first hand, and I'm like, "How is it?" And he's like, "Yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's good." And I was like, "Okay, cool." So I wrapped the second one. And he's like, "Oh, man, this one feels different." And I'm like, "Oh, fuck. God damn it. I thought I was getting out of there." And he's like, "Yeah, this feels different." He's like, "This is really tight." And I'm like, "Okay. I don't know what to do." So I'm like, the only thing I thought to do was to cut it off and start over. So I cut it off and I start over, and then I just really took my time, and it took probably a long fucking time because I'm like, okay, yes, all right, that sort of thing. So anyway, ended up doing it, and got done. Fortunately, it took me so long to wrap the one guy's hand that the event was starting, and I had to go out to the cage. So I couldn't wrap anyone else's hands. So I dodged a bullet there. So I go to the cage. Fights are going on. Nothing's happening, right? With like no one's getting cut or anything like that. And then closer to the end it was before the main event for sure, but there's probably like 2 or 3 fights left. Guy gets cut. Well, he didn't get cut. He had a nosebleed, but it was bleeding pretty good. And so the corner's like, "Hey, cutman, my guy's bleeding." And I just remember that feeling like, "Oh, here we go, this is it." And like the hair on my arms standing up, and I'm like, "Oh shit!" My dad and my brother-in-law are in the audience watching. I'm like, "Oh, it's on now." And so scared, but thank God it was just a nosebleed. And from my first aid background, like
that was something that you could deal with.
It's something I could deal with, but all these people are watching. And it actually really benefited me that I was ignorant to how important all this shit was back then, because it didn't really put a lot of pressure on me. I was like, oh, okay, well, this guy's got a nosebleed. I'm just going to go in. I'm going to do my thing, and that's it.
Nice.
So, took care of the nosebleed, and that was my whole night.
Nice. And you've been doing it since.
And I've been doing it since.
Nice.
Yeah. And then I ended up working one more show for them, but then I had to I had to leave because, like I said, it was unsanctioned. Like it's in a casino on an Indian reserve, right?
Okay, so it's a native reserve. Okay.
And guys were literally bringing their own gloves to the fight, and so some guys were just like bringing like the $12 Walmart jobbies where it's
so it's like plastic. There's no padding in that shit.
No, nothing. And
might as well just go bare knuckle.
Yeah, exactly. And then what made me change my mind was in the second event that I did.
Yeah.
You got this one kid who comes with a team. The team's got team tracksuits on. He's got a banner. He's got sponsorships on his shorts. And the guy he's fighting is literally wearing basketball shorts, and he's got his 2 buddies who were clearly drunk or stoned or something. They're clearly inebriated.
Oh, dude, I've dealt with those kind of people
and
before.
In his corner. Yeah. And I'm watching the one guy get warmed up, and the other guy, his 2 buddies are just smacking him, going, "Oh, you're gonna fuck this guy up! You're gonna fuck this guy up!"
Oh my god!
And it was brutal. It was a fucking ass whooping like you wouldn't believe. And his corner were so fucking stupid that they didn't stop the fight or anything. And there was no ringside doctor. There was nothing. Right?
Not even first aid.
No.
Or so you were the first.
Not that I saw. I mean, maybe there was somewhere, but like at the BFL, you see the paramedics are right in the corner where the fighters enter, and then you've got 3 ringside doctors.
Yeah.
I mean, it's night and day the difference. But after I saw this one guy get his ass kicked, I was like, I can't be a part of this, man. That's clearly like what kind of matchmaking went on there. You've got this guy.
That's some ticket sale promotion shit.
Yeah.
Right? And, like, I worked a few events like that with promotions, like, outside of the BFL. Like, I mean, way before there was even, like, a BC commission.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, I've worked events when it was pretty much, like, real Wild West shit, man.
Yeah.
Like, where, like, there wouldn't even be a doctor, there'd be a first aid guy. Right? No ambulance, no nothing.
Yeah, you can't.
Right?
I think the BC Athletic Commission forming is probably one of the best things that ever happened.
I agree
to MMA in this province.
Like it really helped, though. It's really like help the standards and quality of our sport. Like helping make mixed martial arts an actual sport in our province. Like add some legitimacy.
I don't know what the name of the organization was that was doing it before. I know Bill Mahood was.
It was MMA BC.
See, like they did a pretty good job.
They did a great job.
But the problem was without that commission. You can still have events without them. Mm-hmm. So if you didn't want to pay that money, or because I'm sure it costs money to have them do it, then you just go ahead and do it. So that's having the actual BC Athletic Commission in place now, where you can't do an event unless they're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
hands down, is just one of the best things that ever happened.
That, and like I think it's also created a lot of opportunities for like anyone involved in the industry, whether you're a fighter, whether it's someone like yourself, whether it's someone like me. It's helped like, you know, give us opportunities.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Because like without it, like we weren't having any events in town. I mean, like, what's the point of having a card if it's not a pro card?
Yeah,
or at least if there's like majority pro fights on the card, you know.
Yeah.
I'm really glad with how everything like shaped out, and like it's really opened up a lot of opportunities for someone like me and again like you.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, it has, absolutely.
Right, I mean, because like, you know, there may be a time one day like where, you know, you could get called up to like an even bigger show, and you know, I dream of being on a bigger show too.
Mm-hmm.
Right, I think like that's the possibilities of that. It's very real.
Yeah,
it's very
100%. It is. Yeah,
right.
And they're so good to work with too. Everyone from the room supervisors to the judges to the referees, they're all such good people.
Yes.
They're all super professional. They're all good to, you know, like to like bounce ideas off of, and they're awesome to work with.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I had the pleasure of working with the Medicine Hat Athletic Commission.
What was that like?
Oh, what a fucking nightmare that was. I hope they're not watching this, because I'm doing that event coming up in the later. But they hadn't, put it this way, they hadn't done an event in 3 years.
Oh shit!
When we did the first fight night, like the people involved were really good. Like they're all really great people and meant well. It's just you haven't done an event in 3 years. You're not going to be organized. Like one of the inspectors. She shows up and she's wearing flip-flops and a dress.
What the fuck?
And they give her a shirt that comes down to her knees, and she goes in the cage and she's like, "Is here good?" And the guy's like, "No, fuck over there. Get the fuck over there."
That's horrible.
Horrible. And then at the last minute, too, they decided that, because there was only one cage door, there wasn't two.
That's weird.
Yeah. That only one cornerman could go in.
What? One cornerman at a time?
No, like, so in between rounds, only one cornerman for each team. You know how it's two?
Yeah, that's two.
Only one could go in. And if I needed to go work on them, no cornerman. I take the place of that one cornerman. So now the guy's not getting water, he's not getting ice, he's not getting any coaching. So if I'm working on a guy, most likely he's losing the fight. Usually. Probably about 75% of the time.
That's fucked up.
And now he's not going to get any coaching and nothing.
Like no nourishment, no water,
nothing. So anyway, it was pretty fucking brutal.
That's like a recipe for disaster.
Yeah. So I was talking with Mike from the BC Athletic Commission, and he put it perfectly. He's like, so they changed the rules of the unified mixed martial arts rule. Like you can't, like that's they're there to uphold it, not change it. Like that's why everyone agrees to this. This is why you have commissions, is to follow those rules.
So like Alberta doesn't have its own commission, like it was its own city, like Medicine Hat.
No, so Calgary has its own, Medicine Hat has its own. I guess Edmonton, I don't know if they do fights in Edmonton, but each jurisdiction has their own.
Edmonton like used to be a hotbed for MMA, like I remember before, like it was the MFC, the Maximum Fighting Championship. Like I mean I don't want to talk bad about the Maximum Fighting Championship, because like, you know, I've had like my own incidents with Mr. Pavlich himself.
You have?
I have, actually. You want me to tell you a story?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. So before
you can't just say that and and then not tell me the story.
Okay. So like there's a few people out there that know this, but like I guess I'm going to tell you for the first time.
Yeah, right.
So before I was part of the BFL, and like, you know, I was a young hungrier. I'm still hungry, very hungry actually. But like I was a younger ring announcer. You know, I would like actively go on Twitter and harass every single promotion to give me a gig.
Yeah.
Right? And I knew I had a chance I felt like I had a chance at the MFC, because they're like right beside us, and in many people's minds they were the top promotion in Canada.
Yeah, at one time.
Like
them and TKO, but
yeah, them and TKO, and MFC had some really good talent. People like Paul Daly, Ben Henderson.
Yeah, man, they put on good cards.
Yeah, they put on good cards, and they had a good eye for talent, right? And I figured, okay, they're on HD Net. I think it's Access TV now. We don't have that channel anymore, but it was a good channel. But yeah, the MFC, like they used to put on all these events, and I would harass them. And I remember I was watching like TSN one day, and I was watching this card that was being put on there. I think Raging Cajun Johnson was fighting on it.
Mm-hmm.
He fought Richie Whitson, I think. Like, he was this dude that fought out of Temecula, so he was out of Team Quest, right? He was like...
Fuck, good memory, man.
Yeah, he was like one of those guys that was supposed to be like, one of the next top guys to get signed to the UFC, and like Cajun like destroyed him and took him off that hype train.
Yeah.
So I'm watching it, and the ring announcer for the MFC that they had, like, for a lack of a better word, and I don't mean to mean any disrespect, but he wasn't exciting. He was really boring. It's like, ladies and gentlemen, in this corner, he weighs in at 155 pounds from Vancouver, BC, Raging Cajun Johnson. Some boring shit.
Yeah.
Right? Like, stuff that'll put you to sleep. So I put on Twitter, I'm like, listen, like, I feel like I can do better than this guy. I don't mean any respect because he's older than me.
You don't mean any respect? Or
no, disrespect. Sorry. I don't mean any disrespect.
Yeah. Right? I don't want to give this fucker any respect.
No disrespect. But, like, I feel like I have something to offer in your ring. Right? And, like, I kept saying that, and then Mr. Mark Pavlich himself tweets me publicly. He's like, because like I would send people like all my video promo. Right? Uh-huh. I sent everyone my video promo from the World Series of Fighting to ONE FC, all the promotions outside of the UFC. I sent them my video promo. I've even had like Ray Selfor from World Series of Fighting watch it himself and tell me about it.
Really?
Yeah. Right? Like he told me like he told me he likes me, but he wants me to get more experience. So that's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. Right? That's a good like constructive criticism.
Yeah.
But Mark Pavlich on the other hand, he's like, I just watch your ring announcing promo and you fucking suck. Right? He's like, he's like, you are not on MFC level. Right? And,
what a dick.
And this was public. Right? This was public on Twitter for everyone to read. And like a whole shitstorm came out where people were retweeting this and like saying, hey, this guy's a fucking like 25-year-old kid. No, I was 24 at the time. He's like, this guy's only 24. He's asking for you for a chance and you have to be a dick about it. And then it got to the point where they have to block me and whoever else was talking shit to them. And
oh my,
yeah, I mean, like,
God.
I think like times might be different now. Like, I mean, he focuses on mainly like managing fighters. He actually helped Ryan James get his deal in the UFC.
He did?
Yeah, he manages Ryan James.
I thought he was doing like
marketing.
Yeah,
he does that, and I think he manages like some fighters on the side because he still has a connection, right? Like even though like he talked bad about me like publicly online to some nobody kid, right?
It's pretty funny though.
It's pretty funny, and like
I guess you didn't think it was that funny, but it's
no, like
it's such a douche move.
It actually, in a way, I think it helped me.
Yeah. 100%.
Like,
you take that shit and you say, I'm going to show this fucking guy.
And that's exactly what I've done. Like, ever since, like, every time, like, I go into that ring or cage, like, I don't go in there with the intent of, like, being like, haha, fuck you, I can do it better than you. But, like, I go in there with the intent that the guy in front of me, not many people in the crowd know who he is. It's my job to make him sound like the best fucking thing in the world.
Exactly.
Right? I need to put...
That is the job.
Yeah. I need to put him over, and I need people to believe in the crowd that he really is the welterweight champion of the world. And this challenger is a threat to his title. Mm-hmm. So that's my job in the cage and in the ring. And like, yeah.
You're getting me excited right now just talking about it, man.
You're supposed to.
Yeah. Let's go watch some fights.
I know. But, being a fight fan and, being a kid that grew up watching martial arts, like, it's just, I feel like I owe it to, like, the person in there, and I owe it to the people watching. Like, this is a big deal. This is not something to be played with. This is a real sport. And these guys that are in this cage or in this ring, they're going to be world champions one day. Mm-hmm. Right? Everyone.
That's cool, man.
Yeah. Cheers.
That's very good. Cheers to that. That's a cheers-worthy statement, my man.
Yeah. But, I don't know, like you, since you're super big into fighting, like, what are some fights that you're looking into? Like, some stuff that you're really looking forward
to? Boxing or MMA?
Any combat sport.
I'm really hoping that it happens, but I'm really looking forward to Andre Ward versus, what's the Russian cat's name?
Kovalev.
Yeah.
Dude, that's something that we all want.
I would love to see that.
Yeah.
I would really like to see Triple G take on one of the big names too. Any one of them. Cotto's been thrown out there a lot, but I'd like to see him just take on any of the big names.
Me too. I mean, to be honest with you, I think this year as a boxing fan, I'm kind of frustrated with the fights that we don't want. Mm-hmm. Right? The moth.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay. Like, I'm not happy that like Bob Arum booked Manny Pacquiao and Bradley again. I don't give a fuck about Amir Khan versus Canelo Alvarez.
Yeah.
Right?
I was a little bit stoked for that fight.
Right.
And it's, you know what it is? It's those goddamn 24/7 shows.
They do such a good job.
Dude, they get me. At first, I was like, "Oh, Canelo's gonna kill him."
Yeah.
And I'm an Amir Khan fan.
I love Amir Khan.
I was like, this isn't good.
Mm-hmm.
And then I watched those goddamn. I don't know if it's 20 because one does 24/7 and the other one does.
That's the Showtime one.
Yeah.
Anything that HBO does is 24/7, and like.
Then Showtime has their own too. I can't remember which one.
I think the 24/7 one's better.
Yeah, but they're both excellent. And same with the UFC countdowns, the embedded shows, the Road to the Octagons, all those shows. They do such a good job.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I started watching that, the 24/7 of that, and I'm like, man, Khan's got a shot here. Khan's really gonna bring it to him. And then
he did.
He did. No, he did. Actually, did very well.
Yeah.
And you know what? I mean, fucking Canelo's a destroyer, man. And for anyone to take that fight,
takes a huge sack of nuts.
yeah, exactly.
Not even just forget the paycheck. It's a sack of nuts.
Fuck yeah, it is.
You saw what he did to Kirkland last year.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so that takes a huge set of nuts, man. And I hate all these people on Twitter and stuff like that when someone loses, like when Khan lost.
Oh, yeah.
And then people are like, oh, yeah, fucking obviously, he sucks.
No. It takes a special talent to beat a guy like that.
Yeah. He is a professional boxer. He makes millions of dollars for a fight. He does not suck. It's the same like when people talk about, I'm not a Canucks fan, but Canucks, like I'll listen to sports talk radio, and people call in and say, oh, this guy sucks, and this guy sucks. They're playing in the NHL. They are the 1%ers of the 1%ers. They don't suck at playing hockey. They might not be performing well, or they might not be the best of the best.
Yeah.
But they don't suck, and that you don't see that. You see that more than anything in fighting. And when fucking it just drives me fucking.
People
crazy.
are brutal. Like people are pretty relentless. I think me and you, like, we sat down and we all talked, like, on this other podcast, like, actually at Clinch MMA.
Yep.
We all sat down and we were talking about, like, when a fighter loses, like, say, for example, like a Jose Aldo. Jose Aldo was, like, undefeated, like, for almost over 10 years.
Yeah.
Right? And he loses to Conor McGregor. You want me to open that for you? Oh, you got it.
I got it, man.
Cheers. So he loses to Conor McGregor in that one fight. So what? That 10 years of destruction means shit.
It means nothing. He sucks. He's a pussy. He's a bitch.
It's like he never really was that good. It's like, huh?
Yeah.
He beat the best in the world for 10 years straight, right? Manny Pacquiao, like, before he got knocked out by Marquez, right? Before that big knockout, like, all of a sudden, like, he sucks because he lost that one time.
Yeah.
Right?
Because he got caught.
He got caught. And he's human.
Yeah.
Right? It happens to the best of us. The only guy that's, like, closest to, like, perfection, obviously, is Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah.
Right? We've never really seen him in trouble.
No.
Right? But for the most part...
Maidana gave him some fits in their first fight, but...
Maidana fought the way you should have fought against him.
Yeah.
Same with Ortiz. Victor Ortiz. Mm-hmm. Like, before he, like, did the whole thing, oh, I'm sorry, and he gets caught and all that kind of stuff. He was fighting the way you should, because against Floyd Mayweather, fundamentally, like, I mean... Like, I'm not calling myself a boxing expert, but, like, just from what I observe, like, when he fought Floyd Mayweather, it's like anyone that fights Floyd Mayweather, fundamentally, you will get fucked. He will beat you every single time.
He's perfect.
He's perfect. He's in the Matrix. He sees punches in slow motion, right? So the only way to beat him is to keep it dirty. Yeah. Right? Get away with whatever you can against him.
Foul him. Fucking push him around.
Whatever it takes to get him off his game, and Maidana did a great job. Remember when they were clinching, like every single time. Yeah. Every single time. He's just hitting him with that right in the clinch.
Make it a fight, not a boxing match.
Yeah, don't try to make it like a chess game with him. Like you have to try your best to make it a street fight. Yeah. Right?
Yeah, so getting back to the fights that I want to see in boxing, got those two. I really want to see what happens with Klitschko and Fury.
Yeah, me too. That was really weird, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. You like Deontay Wilder?
I was just going to say I want to see I don't care who. I just want to see Wilder fight. Joshua too. there's a couple big boys who are looking pretty good right now.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's like Crawford.
That's right. Yeah.
Who else? There's just a bunch of guys that I like watching.
Mm-hmm.
What's that cat's name? I can never pronounce his name. It starts with an L. That European dude. It's like 20 letters long. Who the hell did he just fight? But anyway, yeah, it's I really like watching him. He's kind of newer, but everyone's saying he's the next big thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then MMA, I guess we got McGregor Diaz coming up. I can't wait to see.
That's actually a fight that I didn't want right now. I actually wanted I was hoping that Conor would go back and defend his strap to add some legitimacy to like his title.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you're gonna book it and you're gonna book it again, I mean, there's so much to lose in this fight for Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
Like I think like his reputation will get smashed if he gets smashed again.
Well, it was one saving grace is that it's at 170, right? So he can say, "Okay, listen, you can't fault me. I went up 2 weight divisions. I had the stones to do it, and I lost to a bigger guy."
Oh yeah, 100%. Like and in the first fight, like I mean, even at a loss, I still think he's somehow taken like a moral W.
Yeah.
Right? Because like he took that fight, like, you know, he could have like not taken that fight, but he did it anyway.
The only problem is if he loses again, this is where I can see that he might have some issues. So no one's going to fault him for losing to Nate Diaz, because I actually think the line has him favored, or if not, it's still pretty close.
Why is this? I don't understand. This is a full camp.
Yeah.
This is a full camp.
I don't get it either.
Yeah.
But but I think the consensus are everyone, like, you hear on any podcast, you hear on any interview, you read in any interview that everyone who's in the business says the exact same thing's going to happen, except this time he's not going to touch Nate Diaz because he has a full camp.
Yeah.
But the only thing is, so he loses, he can say, "Hey, listen, I did it. I tried my best. I went up against a way bigger, stronger, more fucking athletic." Well, he's not really more athletic, but just a bigger, stronger guy.
Yeah.
And I couldn't hang, so I'm going back down to 145. But the only problem that happens there is, what is Conor McGregor's biggest thing? Is what makes him a big draw is his shit talking.
Yes.
That shit talking isn't cute anymore. If you've just lost 2 fights in a row, you can't go in. You can't go in and be Mystic Mac and say, "I'm going to fucking whoop your ass and knock you out in 2 seconds. You can't handle my punches," when you're coming off back-to-back losses. You can't. Especially when you get choked out the first time, and then we'll see what happens the second time. But
well, to Conor's credit, like I actually don't think he gets enough credit for what he did in the first round. Like, if you noticed, he hit Nate Diaz more than Nate Diaz has been hit in the face a long time.
Yeah.
Long time.
But Nate Diaz was literally doing tequila shots 7 days before that.
100%. But, like, one of the things that, like, I observe about the Diaz brothers is, like, Conor, I think, in my opinion, if he has a chance at winning this fight, he needs to fight in angles. Right? He don't fight in a straight line like he does, because that's what the Diaz brothers like. Mm-hmm. They like moving in a straight line and, like, you know, doing the machine gun, like, pitter-patter punches, and then bam, like, you know, that thing comes out of nowhere. But he needs to fight in he needs to fight in different angles and kick him in the legs numerous times. Yeah. Right? I mean, yeah, that's what I think should happen. What about you?
I think if he can incorporate some leg kicks in it, that's going to be the biggest thing, because that's one of the things that people have used the most against the Diaz brothers is leg kicks. Other than when they were just facing a bigger, stronger guy who threw them around, like when Rory did it to Nate, when GSP did it to Nick. Like, they were just facing bigger, better athletes who just physically dominated them. But in actual, like, the other times that they've lost, it's been due to leg kicks. Because they've got that boxing stance. They don't really throw kicks much themselves. Yeah. Rarely ever. And their feet are planted. And,
super flat-footed.
And they're in that boxing stance. That lead leg is forward. And someone who's a good, like, someone like Edson Barboza would look at that like that's a Pop-Tart. Like, he would eat that up all day long. You know what I mean? Like,
Edson Barboza is crazy.
But then again, Conor McGregor, you haven't seen him use many leg kicks either. He kicks a lot, and he's got a lot of fancy kicks, but he doesn't kick the legs very often.
I think Robin Black, he talks about it like in those like breakdown videos that he does. Talks about how like McGregor uses like those fancy like capoeira style kicks really to mask the cannon, like, you know, left
exactly
hand, right.
It's jazz hands.
Yeah,
it's jazz hands.
Yeah.
He's saying, hey, look at this, whammo. Right?
And then out of nowhere, the cannon left.
Exactly.
Right? But the thing is, you can't hit him with that if he's, like, bigger and just, he fights at a higher weight class than you. Mm. Right? He can do that to 145ers all day, I think. In my opinion, like, I think Conor could sleep anyone in his weight division, in 145.
Yeah.
He could sleep anyone at 145 because he's bigger.
Yeah, I agree. Right? I agree. And, I mean, that, it's a piston that he has. Like, and I still think he could sleep guys up higher, but it's not going to be a one-shot walk-off like it is at 145. Yeah, you're going to have to hit someone with that multiple times. Mm. And someone who's got a tested chin like Nate is going to...
Yeah, he can eat that all day long.
Yeah, I mean, eventually it might wear on him, but... Fuck, man, by then he's already stalked and slapped the shit out of you, and he's choking you unconscious.
You know, that actually brings up an interesting point, because, like, people like Nate Diaz, they've been in the game for so long. Like, you know, they've been fighting way before MMA was ever popular. Mm-hmm. And, like, you know, they've taken shots from the best. Like, it makes me wonder, like, how long, like, is their shelf life in terms of, like, their chin? Like, you've seen it happen to Chuck Liddell.
Yeah.
Right?
And you know what? You're starting to see that now, even with some of the big name guys like Roy Nelson, who could just eat shots all day long. And then it always just comes down to one fight where, you know, one guy connected and it slept him, and then they're never the same after that. You know what I mean? Like those guys.
That's so true.
It's just so true. It's like almost like the chin has a certain amount of hits, and when it hits that final number, that's it.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like, I don't know the science behind that, but, I mean, you've seen it time and time again. Mm-hmm. You've seen guys who, you know, can take mad shots, and then all of a sudden...
They just can't do it anymore.
They can't do it anymore, man.
Right? Father Time. They can be undefeated forever.
Yeah.
Like, look at, like, okay, one of my all-time favorite MMA fighters, Fedor Emelianenko. Mm-hmm. Right? You look at him now, like, in his last fight against Maldonado, like, I've seen highlights and everything. It's essentially like watching a shadow. You know, it's not. It looks like him, but it's not him. Mm-hmm. You know, it sucks. Happens to the older guys.
And it's a shame too, because you don't want to see essentially MMA heroes going out like that. You know what I mean? Like,
no, we don't want to.
I mean, Maldonado is a great fighter, but let's be honest, he's not a world beater. Like, I mean, he's not even in the top 30 of the best fighters at that weight division. Like,
maybe. Nah, I guess I can agree. Yeah,
I guess because it's heavyweight, I guess you could say that's not true. If it was any other weight division, fuck, hell no, he wouldn't even be close. Hell no. But heavyweight, you're right. You know, I'll agree with you. There's not that many good guys.
Like, there's like a handful of guys that can hang and everything like that in that division. That division itself is a revolving door, and, like, you know, I could see, like, Stipe being champion for a while.
Yeah, right? He's got a tough one coming up.
Although, like, that fight against Overeem, like, I'm a big Overeem fan, right? I'm really curious to see, like, how he's going to do against Stipe, but I think a big story of that fight, when it comes up, is going to be Stipe's speed, Stipe's footwork.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't think his wrestling is going to come into play very much, because Overeem's really good at takedown defense.
And he's a really underrated grappler.
Yeah.
Really underrated. Everyone talks...
Well, when he was in Pride, he was guillotining dudes like fucking no one's business.
Yeah, no one's business. Like, he loved the guillotine choke, and he was the master at that.
Yeah. People don't remember that. And he wasn't a heavyweight back then either.
Like a light heavyweight.
Yeah.
Right.
He ate all that horse meat. But the thing that I would say about this fight is I really like the way Overeem has been approaching his fights now.
Yeah,
he's hanging back, he's picking his shots, he's fighting really smart, man. And if Stipe gets into that kind of battle with that kind of world-class striker, man, I don't know if he's going to win that. However, Overeem's a guy who has been chinny in the past, too.
Well, and the funny thing is, like, he's one of those guys, too, that's like, you know, he's been in the fight game a long time, but, like, his chin has always been, like, you know, his most suspect thing. It's like paper mache or something. Yeah. I don't know. But, like, if Reem, like, you know, gets hit there, he's always gone. It's like an automatic, you know? It's funny, too, like, in his, like, initial UFC run, like, I remember his first UFC fight was against Brock Lesnar. Right, that's a big first fight in the UFC, and then after that, you know, he's fought guys like Bigfoot Silva. Who else did he fight? Travis Brown, right? It's so funny. He would always be dominant. I remember against the Bigfoot Silva fight. I remember against the Travis Brown fight, Ben Rothwell fight. He's winning those fights. He's fucking the guy up, and then he would just get reckless and cocky, and then he'd take the L.
Travis Brown, that's another one who used to have an ironclad chin. And he proved that in that Overeem fight. He took an ass whooping and then knocked Overeem out. But now, same thing, man. He gets wobbly really quick when he gets hit. You know? I mean, his fight against Kane there, I mean, Kane just kind of put an ass whooping on him. But
Kane...
How good did Kane look? Jesus.
Kane looks so good, man. Like, I think, like, you know, he put him in the run for the title again, I think.
Oh, man, did he look good.
Big dude throwing spinning kicks.
Oh, that was nuts. He looked really good, though, man. Like, he looked like... He looked better than the old Kane, really.
That's good. I hope he stays healthy.
Yeah.
I hope he stays healthy.
Well, I think those guys are starting to change up their... I think they're starting to see the light now about their training regimen, with their guys always being hurt, with Nurmagomedov.
Yeah, Nurmagomedov.
Nurmagomedov always being out. Kane always being out. You know, like... I think they're starting to realize that, and they've even said publicly, like, "Hey, we're changing things up," you know. And that's the way things are going nowadays, man. I think guys are starting to get smarter about that shit, and I think you're gonna see longer careers now too.
Well, I think like there's like this documentary coming out. I think it's called The Price. Did you see the trailer for that? Well, a lot of like guys in the fight game locally, they were sharing like this 9-minute trailer. The Price is about like long-term damage from training. So, like, you know, like, I think there's, like, a few famous fighters in it, like Gary Goodrich.
Yeah.
Right? You know, he has, like, I can't remember what he has exactly, like, CTE, I think?
CTE, yeah.
Right? What does it stand for? Do you know? I don't remember.
I don't know.
We're gonna have to look that up. I'm sorry. I need to get the facts all straight and everything, but, like, he has trouble, he has memory loss.
Yeah.
He doesn't, there's, like, certain times, like, that he doesn't remember what he did that day. And the documentary,
Fuck, man, that's scary.
The documentary is about people like him, right? Like, like they would talk in depth about, like, you know, every Friday we would spar 100%, right?
Probably no headgear.
Probably no headgear, and like, you know, over the years, like that takes its toll on you. And like, you know, for our young fighters and guys that are on the come up, like, you know, we don't want them to take more damage than they should, you know.
Yeah.
Like and to be honest, like, I mean, you know, I'm not in that circle of guys that fight and stuff, but like I feel like they shouldn't take any more damage than they should. Like all the damage that you take should be in the cage, and like, you know, the rest of it, like in camp and all that. I don't think you need to do that.
No,
right?
I mean it makes sense that, you know, like you hear all this shit about like the gym wars and stuff, like the old school guys talking about the gym wars and how the fights were better
in the gym
than they were like actually in the thing, and. I mean, I think people are starting to see now that that's not the way to go. That doesn't make you a better fighter. If you're a fighter, you're fucking tough. There's no, if you have the balls to make that walk down the runway, to hug your cornerman, and to walk into the cage in your underwear and fight another man, fist fight another man in front of thousands of screaming people, you're tough. You don't need to prove that you're fucking tough.
Yeah.
What makes you better is drilling. Over and over again. What makes you better is doing live scenario situations, and that sort of thing. Like, it's not fucking going toe to toe with one of your teammates. I mean, it just doesn't seem like it's the.
That seems kind of counterproductive too, because if you're going 100% against a guy that you see every single Friday, it's like, what are you learning?
Yeah.
right?
You're fighting the same guy
over and over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Right? But I'm glad like people are starting to like see the light. I mean, I think for many years, like I think even Crucell could attest to this. Like the Thais, the way that they train, like in Thailand, like traditional guys, like they wouldn't go fucking full bore at each other at their gym, right?
Yeah.
They save that for the real fight.
Yeah.
Right? They smash the pads, they go maybe 50% with their teammate, and then the real work is done like when the actual fight comes.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
And that's the thing too, is you have to be careful because you could, I mean, even if you don't knock him out, which has happened several times, you like see a guy and he just gets touched in an actual fight, and he goes night, and it's like, what the hell happened? And then you find out that he had just got knocked out 2 weeks earlier in sparring. Well, obviously, but also then you have situations where you can cut a guy. You know, if you're, you can like dislocate something. You can. There's a lot of different things that you can do when you're going full bore, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then what? You know, like look what happened to Julianne Pena, where they're going full piss on the mats, and then someone rolls over on her, tears her ACL, MCL,
and she's out of the game for 2 years.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like what does that do? Like,
no one's getting paid.
No one's getting paid. No. You know, so you start to see it more and more, and you see more and more coaches talking about how they're going lighter, they're doing less and stuff like that. Like if you play on a hockey team and you scrimmage, you don't fucking open ice hip check your teammates.
Nope. You save that for the game.
You save that for the game.
Save it for the game.
So like, why would that be any different? Right?
Same thing. Like, you know, when you practice like in football, like you're not trying to fucking like knock the shit out of the quarterback.
Yeah.
There's a big red jersey on that says "Don't hit him."
Exactly. Exactly. So I think it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad that like, you know, people are becoming more educated about this, because like, you know, as you know, like working in this industry, the more that you're more and you get to like know these guys and what they're about and all that kind of stuff, like you don't want to see them take any damage that they should, you know.
Yeah, 100%. Right. And you know, I want to see guys have long careers and you know, make money at it, and at the end of it, when it's all done, you know, be able to remember where they live and like their kids' names, and you know what I mean? Like you want to see guys get out and still be able to live a healthy existence, you know?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, yeah, I wish that like upon like every single guy that like I introduce, I don't want them to like, you know, take more than they should. Like I remember when Curtis Harriet fought Dan Kayak.
Yeah.
And like Dan like landed, like, you know, he took all that impact into his arm.
Yeah.
I remember like, okay, so I'm sitting right here, and Dan's here, and he's like taking that absorption.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was like right in front of me, you could see it like just happen.
Yeah.
And I remember the first reaction, because I've seen a lot of fucked up shit, just like you have, like in fights, like blood everywhere. All that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I've seen some.
I remember like my exact reaction, like seeing that impact. I was like, I stood up from my chair. I'm like, holy shit! Like, fuck! No! Oh my god! No!
Yeah.
Like, you know, that was like one of the worst. Like that was like, I think like the entire like place went silent. Like everyone was quiet. We're just like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I was sitting on the other side of the cage. I usually sit on the far side where like kind of they walk in, and then if I've got to work the other guy's corner because I work by myself. If the other guy's getting cut up, then I'll boogie around to the other side. But that's usually where I sit because the guys get greased on the other side, and Big Rich greases the guy, so I don't need to be there. So I like to stay out of the way. So fortunately, I didn't see it, but I saw the pictures afterwards. Man, I was like, oh Jesus,
that's traumatic, and I'm so glad that he's okay. You know, because he's a super talented guy.
I was actually just talking with him yesterday.
Yeah, he's a really nice guy too. Right?
Yeah, oh dude, he's one of the nicest. He's one of the nicest guys.
Like, sorry, go on. I
was just gonna say I stopped by TriStar yesterday and saw the boys. Cajun was there, fucking doing flooring, and they're doing everything themselves. Man, they're killing it. The gym looks good though.
I'm glad. I'm looking forward to them breeding some talent.
Yeah.
You know, and using their connections to help take our guys on the West Coast to the next level.
Yeah, it's a nice space too. You should go check it out. It's really nice.
Nice, yeah. I most definitely want to check it out and say hello. Like, I've known Cajun for a long time.
Yeah.
right? Just from doing these fights, and in the nightlife scene, like Cajun used to be like a really popular bouncer.
Really?
Yeah, like
Cajun was a bouncer.
Yeah, man, like he was an awesome bouncer. Like he used to hook me up and get me into Joseph Richards on Granville, like back in like 2010, 2011. Like if you like, for the most part, like a big chunk of the guys that work like security in the downtown nightlife scene, like they worked like they were security. People like Cajun and whoever else fought, like they all work security, right? And yeah, he used to always hook it up. Big shout out to Cajun Johnson. Never forgot, right? Always hooked it up. Always hooked it up.
Right on, man. That's awesome.
But yeah, man. Like so many like cool things going on in the scene. It's really exciting. I'm looking forward to working the next BFL card.
Yeah, when it's September?
September 10th. I don't know who's headlining yet, but I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be at the Hard Rock again.
Yeah.
I love how we have like these like two main venues. We have the Hard Rock, we have the River Rock. It's not like a shitty like hall or anything like that. It's the real deal where they have real locker rooms, showers, and the BFL takes good care of us, man.
The BFL takes really good care of us. They run a really good professional show. They do a really good job. I've worked a lot of pro shows, AMI shows, Pro-Am shows, and they do a really good job. They just how they have everything dialed in, and I think part of that is it's not just Jay and Jamek, but it's also the BC Athletic Commission. I think the two of them work together really well, and
they're like they work like synergy, man.
Yeah,
like they're really good, and they provide like a great opportunity for people in the industry, fighters, people like us. I was saying again, that they're giving us like really good opportunities, and I think I believe like shows like this, they help prepare people like the Ryan Janes, people like the Jeremy Kennedys, people like the Matt Dwyers. They prepare them for the big shows, right? We're not fucking around. We have like a live camera in your face. The entire world can see you. They interview you. They do all the things that it takes to to be a pro. They help promote you and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, they just everything. Like what people don't like. People sit in the seats. They just watch the fights, but they don't see all the shit that happens behind the scenes. And I don't think a lot of people know what it takes to run a show, especially of that size, and all the inner workings and all that kind of stuff. And they've got it dialed in, man.
100%.
They've got it dialed in for sure.
After all the events that I've seen, I've come to the conclusion, I do not ever want to have their job. As much as I like fighting, I do not want to have to manage a circus of all of us.
Yeah, totally.
Because there's so many things that take into effect. Because we've had one of the norms about amateur fights and all that. Guys pull out of fights left and right,
dude.
Right?
It's getting really bad, and also missing weight. It almost seems like weight now is just kind of like a guideline or like a, how many times have we done fights where you find out a guy comes in 14 pounds over?
That's bullshit.
And you're like, what? Are you serious? It's that's the problem with the AMI shows. You don't really get it much with the pros, but that's the difference. Is
I don't want to speak on the commission's behalf just because it's not my place to talk on behalf of them. But there needs to be a way to punish these people. Even if they're AMIs, even if they're not getting paid, there should be a way to I don't know, if the answer is strikes, you get 3 strikes and after 3 strikes you're not allowed to fight on any event that is governed by them. I don't know.
But I wouldn't even see 3 strikes, man, because 3 times is a lot of times to miss weight in a fight.
Probably 2. Once is okay, honest mistake.
Yeah.
Second time is okay, you really knew what you're doing.
But it also depends too. If a guy ends up coming in at 1.5 pounds over and he's depleted and he can't do it, that's fine. It's not fine, but it's okay. It's understandable. But if a guy comes in 18 pounds over,
that's unacceptable.
That's okay. So you didn't even try to cut weight.
That's 2 weight classes above.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly. So, there would have to be some kind of tiering. I guess I don't know, but there's something needs to be done, man, because it's bullshit. And I you see it on Facebook almost daily. A fighter post. My fight got canceled. I put in all this work, and
I feel even worse for the pros Because, like, the pros are the guys that are trying to take this to the next level and, like, trying to monetize their craft and everything like that. And, like, not having a fight fucks up their paycheck. And that paycheck could be the difference of paying rent. That could be the difference of, you know, being able to train, have the proper nutrition. Like, it's a very thankless job.
Yeah. And they're not, let's be honest, they're not getting paid much either.
No.
So, I've watched guys go through training camps for a fight, and they work their ass off, man. Like, it's not an easy thing to do to go through a training camp. Like, you're doing 2 a days, 3 a days. You're trying to get down to a certain weight, so you're cutting out beer and pizza and burgers when all your friends are eating beer, pizza, and burgers, and just the amount of discipline, and it's shitty. It's not fun, like going through a training camp, and then you do all this work, and then all of a sudden, he pulled out. You know, it's like
it's so unfortunate, and like,
I mean, shit happens where guys legitimately pull out. Like, I mean, a guy gets hurt or whatever. There's nothing you can do about it. But sometimes guys pull out just because, you know what I mean? Like
whatever the reason may be, whether it's fear or whatever it is. I don't know. But, like, you know, because, like, I've actually, like, you know, had some unfortunate incidents with fighters myself. Like, you know, like, online. I've had guys call me out and shit. It's like, hey, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Right? And I'm like, okay, I'm sorry. I really do not know what I'm thinking about. But, like, I'm looking at it from, like, a fan's perspective.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if I wasn't a guy in the cage introducing you, like, what would I think of this situation?
Yeah.
Right? And, like, I have to, like, keep reminding myself, like, I've actually gone better at it. I just learned to keep shit to myself.
Right? Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Right? But that was a kind of a fucked up one too, man. Like, you know, I kind of had the same thought process until I heard him explain his side.
Yeah, and then when I heard it, I'm like, okay, I feel like an asshole now.
Yeah.
Right? I feel bad. I feel like I owe you beer, and, like, you know, I need to take you out and, like, make sure everything's cool, because I don't want to come off as, like, that guy.
But that's why you have to be that. That's why you have to wait until you hear the whole story. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
You can't just jump on there and be like, oh, this guy, whatever.
I think that comes with maturity too. Because, like, you know, the older I get, the more I realize, okay, you know, I got to pick and choose my battles, and, like, I have to also watch what I say, right? Because, like,
especially when you're posting on social media, man.
I know, because, like, I have, like, I have, like, a following, right? And everyone reads that shit, right? So if I'm chiming in and saying something, and it's not necessarily, like, in the favor of such and such person, then, like, you know, it makes me look horrible.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Oh, man. Like, as crazy, like, as our fight game is, I'm really happy that we're part of it.
Oh, dude, I can't imagine anything.
Want another one?
I've still got a little bit here, bud, but I'll take one in a minute.
Sure.
I can't imagine anything cooler than this. I can't imagine anything cooler than sitting cage side and watching fights from this far away, and, you know, like, just watching these guys compete. I got so much respect for these guys, man. Like, they're fucking crazy, first of all. But secondly, I just got so much respect for what athletes they are. And, you know...
And for the most part, a lot of them are really good people.
Dude, I would say, and I'm not exaggerating this, I would say 95% of them are. Mm-hmm. I don't think that's an unfair statement to say.
Yeah.
Most of them are, like, the salt, and that was one of the surprising things when I got into it, was how nice everybody is. Mm-hmm. You know, like,
well, especially, like, in the local fight scene, I'd like to think that we're a very family-oriented atmosphere.
Yeah, I think so too, and that's why I like find it, like, super important to support anything anyone's got going on locally. So whether a guy's got a podcast, if he's selling a shirt, if he's hosting an event. Anything that guys are doing, like, if a guy's selling shirt, I'll buy the shirt. Mm-hmm. If a guy's, I listen to all the local guys' podcasts, just to support them. If a guy's hosting an event for a fundraiser or something, if I can go, I'll go. Like, I try to do everything that I can, and I think everyone needs to be like that, especially locally. We've got to support each other.
Oh yeah, totally. Because, like, we're such a small scene.
Yeah.
Right? Like, majority of the people that come up to our fights at the BFL events, these are like regular people that we see almost every single event.
Yeah, it's the teammates of the fighters, it's the parents, it's the uncles, the aunts, and the buddies and shit like that. And then just the local like MMA nuts who go to literally every single one of them.
And without these people, like, you know, I'm not introducing fighters. You're not helping fighters like stay in the game.
Nope.
Right? Like, we're nothing without these people.
No. Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I love the fight scene, and like, you know, the older I get, the more like I have like a greater appreciation, respect for what these guys do, and you know, for the introductions, like, you know, it's one of my favorite things in the world, and like, you know, I can honestly say that like there's a lot of great things in the world. My favorite things in the world: sex, pizza, beer. Fighting's up there, man.
Yeah, it's up there. I don't know if it's as good as sex.
I don't know, man. I can't explain it. Like when I do my introduction, you know, the whole thing, like it's kind of crazy. Like when I do my main event introduction, it's like you're watching. It's like I'm in my own matrix. So like I go into the middle of the cage. All of a sudden, I don't see anything around me.
What is it they say? It's fight. It's fight.
Like I'm like, are you ready? And you know, I wait for the pop from the crowd, and then I'm like, it's time.
It's fight time.
Yeah,
the voice that'll make you moist.
Yeah, cheers to that.
Hey, by the way, you can take that. You know, I won't charge you for it. You gotta get shirts made, man.
If I get shirts made like that, I'm gonna give you some sort of commission. You're gonna get a free shirt and like, you know, a cut.
No, just a free shirt is fine, man.
I gotta give you a cut because you came up with that.
You gotta make shirts. That's fucking awesome. Just do a silhouette of you like this, or the thing that you do, and then have Ryan Ventura, the voice that'll make you moist, on the back. Dude, they would sell like hotcakes. I'm telling you, marketing genius.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Man, there really is nothing like it. I mean, I've actually had people like ask me, it's like, okay, so how, where's your inspiration from in terms of ring announcing? A lot of people are surprised that my favorite ring announcer is actually Jimmy Lennon Jr.
He's the best.
Jimmy Lennon Jr. is my favorite.
Well, he's literally the best, though.
You like him better than Michael Buffer?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Michael Buffer's probably. I like Bruce Buffer better than I like Michael Buffer.
I actually like Michael better.
Yeah,
personally.
But yeah, he's my favorite.
I like Jimmy Lennon Jr. because, like, if you remember from way back in the day, his dad, right, Jimmy Lennon Sr., like, he's the guy that introduced, like, you know, Ali in his prime and Fraser, like, his dad. But Jimmy Lennon Jr., he mixes what his dad had, like, the eloquence, like, in this corner, weighing at 205 pounds.
That's actually really good, man. Yeah. That's a good impression.
From Louisville, Kentucky, the greatest of all time, Muhammad Ali.
Yeah.
And then he would go, Ali, after.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, I really gravitate to that classic style, but I'm a young guy. I come from hip-hop. You always see me at, like, these raves and EDM events. I feel like I have to put my own, like, you know, spin on it, right? So I just
at the end of the day, man, you got to do you. Mm-hmm. You can't, if you're going to go up there and try to, and that's in anything, if you're going to go up there and try to copy someone else or imitate someone else, you're never going to make it. Mm-hmm. You've got to do you.
Mm-hmm. And the craziest thing, too, is, like, you know, I keep saying, like, you know, the older I get, the more, like, I realize, like, this is real. Because there was once a time, like, when I was watching the BFL, like, on cable TV, when it was actively on the Fight Network all the time, I would watch it there. Or, like, you know, I would pay my ticket and go watch, like, at the nosebleed seats and everything. And, like, I would say to myself, yeah, I think I can do that one day. Mm-hmm. And now I'm in there. Myself. Yeah. Right? Which still trips me out even to this day. Like, I'm in there, I'm like, this is bullshit. I don't believe it's real. Right? And then, like, you know, I look at, like, someone, like, I'm going to go watch the UFC card on August 27th at Rogers Arena.
I'll be there too, my man.
Right? And, like, I'm going to look at that cage, and I'm going to be like, you know what? Bruce is getting older. My time will come.
Yeah.
Right?
100%. And you know what? It's not just Bruce. There's Bellator, there's World Series, there's...
one, yeah.
There's a lot of good opportunities out there, man.
Mm-hmm.
One would be one, actually, you being of Asian descent. That would be
I think so, too, because, like, you know, I'm Filipino and all that kind of stuff. Like, even Paul Chang, like, when we sat down on that podcast, he's like, yo, man, you'd be good at that.
Yeah.
Right? You know how Paul is with his smile and everything? You'd be good at that. But you need to lose some weight. And I'm like, I know, I love to eat, right? I like to eat too much. Like, I'm not, like, denying that. I obviously, like, you know, go to the bar way too often.
Yeah.
But he's like, if you lose some weight, I'm going to get you signed in there.
I don't understand what that has to do with ring announcing, but...
It's just him because he's a big fucking hulking monster of a man.
Yeah, it's easy to say when you're a ginormous man.
Ex-football player turned fighter.
Yeah.
Right?
Who's been in the gym since he was probably fucking 11 years old. It's pretty easy for him.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I had, like, my athletic background, but I think, like, as soon as, like, high school ended, like, all those years of playing rugby, lacrosse, and football, like, where the fuck you go? Yeah.
And each year, man, it gets easier and easier to put on weight, and it gets harder and harder to take weight off. Fuck.
Well,
I'm the same, man. I got a fucking paunch on me, too.
Well,
and I'm still a fucking active athlete, too. I still play soccer. Like, competitive. I still play competitive soccer. I'm a goalkeeper, though, so,
No, but still, you're putting in work. Like,
let's be fucking honest.
I've torn my meniscus here, the right meniscus, 3 times. Right? That's what's kind of keeping me from, like, being, like, athletic. Yeah.
That's a shit injury, man.
It's bullshit because, like, you know, I've trained, like, in kickboxing, boxing, jiu-jitsu. I've done it for years. And, like, you know, as soon as, like, I play hockey, like, you know, me being, like, the dumb person who loves hockey so much, like, I decided...
You a hockey player?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
I played, that's how I tore my meniscus all 3 times.
Playing hockey.
Oh, like, you know, forget, like, you know, I trained at WKX for a bit with the Johnsey family. Big shout out to you guys. And I trained with them for a bit, and, like, you know, I would spar with these killers and everything like that. I would spar with Josh before he was part of Glory. And, like, you know, I can't hang with those guys, but I did it anyway. Yeah. And, like, I would leave with, like, maybe a few bruises, maybe the odd bloody nose. But I wouldn't have a torn fucking meniscus from it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, man. But, you know, we're actually getting to the tail end of the podcast. That was a quick hour.
Holy shit, that went by quick, man.
Yeah, that was a really fast hour. You know, I'm really glad you came on the show. Like, you know, all these Skype episodes that I have on YouTube, as fun as they are, nothing beats, like, shooting the shit with a friend, having some beer, and, like, talking to them face-to-face for everyone to see.
Yeah, absolutely, right? Man.
So, Rodzilla, where the fuck can people find you?
Rod Wingrove on Facebook, Cutmanzilla on Instagram. I think it's Rod Wingrove on Twitter.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I follow you on Twitter.
Let me just double check that.
Sure.
And then you can email me at cutmanzilla@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm.
And that's at Rodney Wingrove.
Awesome.
The big thing that I just wanted to get out there is that, you know, the BFL's doing it, Fight Nights is doing it, Hard Knocks is doing it, but there's a lot of real professional shows out there that aren't hiring cutmen for their events. And this is the biggest thing to me, is that a promotion will say, sorry, there's nothing in the budget to hire a cutman, but they'll go and hire 5 fucking ring card girls. And they just don't get it. So what everyone out there needs to do, if you're a fighter, if you're a coach, or if you're a manager, you need to say to these promotions, listen, our guys are out there and they're putting their health on the line. Hire a couple of fucking quality cutmen for the promotion. And I'm not just saying that hire me. I'm saying in general. Hire a couple of quality cutmen for it, because it's super fucking important. And people don't realize that.
Mm-hmm.
If a guy is busted up, right, and he's bleeding all over the place, and he goes back to his corner, now the coach has to deal with those cuts. First of all, generally, they don't know what they're doing, right? Second of all, if that guy's busted up, he needs to be coached. He needs to be told what's wrong. How well can a coach fucking coach a guy if he's trying to fucking stop a nosebleed and cut a big zigzag cut over his eye?
Basically, what your job does, it allows coaches to be coaches.
Exactly.
Right? It allows coaches to be coaches, and, like, you know, I've been at, like, many fights in the BFL where dudes are fucked up. there's like blood everywhere, and it's because of people like you, like you in particular. You would keep these people in the game, and because of it, we have classic moments.
Yeah.
That people forever talk about in our fight scene, and it could be like the difference between taking it to the next level or not.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because of people like you.
And also, we have relationships with the commissions. We have relationships with the doctors. So I wrote a post about Mike Jasper, who was at the last event?
Yeah, really talented guy. He's from California. Big shouts to him.
Yeah, Brendan Kornberger. And he got cut open. And the doctors came up to me afterwards and said, if you weren't in there, we were coming in. They didn't even come in to look over it. He had a shit cut too, man. It was like right underneath his eyebrow, leaking into his eye. I went in, stopped the bleeding so that it's not leaking into his eye. He went out and ended up winning the fight. That's important. The coach, maybe he can or he can't do that. But while I was doing that, his coach was telling him, and I'm not bullshitting you, what exactly the coach was telling him to do, he went out and did and knocked Brendan out.
That's right. Yeah, I was in there. I was like sitting near where their corner was.
Exactly what he did. Now, if he was too busy trying to work on a fucking cut, he's not able to give those kinds of instructions. Mm-hmm. So you've got that, frees that up. You've got the ability that the referee. How many times have I been in there where the referee just comes up to me and goes, "Hey, Rod, can you stop it?" "Yeah, I can stop it." "Okay, no problem. I won't call the doctors in." Mm-hmm. If it's a coach, the referee doesn't come over and say, "Hey, coach, can you stop it?" He's bringing in the doctors who might stop the fight. Mm. And then thirdly, I should say, when a coach can't deal with a cut, maybe he can get it to stop enough that the fighter can go back out there. But as soon as that guy gets hit, it gets open again because he didn't deal with it the right way. Well, now that's just leaking into his eye again. Or if it's his nose, he's got blood leaking down the back of his throat, which then he now has to open his mouth to breathe. And guess what happens when you open your mouth? You get knocked the fuck out. Yeah. Right?
Yeah, because they're leaving that chin open.
It's so ridiculous. There's so many of these so-called professional leagues throughout Canada, no cutmen. But they have 5 fucking ring girls. It's ridiculous. And so all I got to say, my final word to all the fighters, managers, coaches, if you're dealing with a promotion that isn't hiring at least one cutman, one quality cutman. I work alone at the BFL. It's better to have a team, but if you got a quality guy, he can do it himself. Say to your promoter, "Hey, you need to hire a cutman for our guys." You know, fucking follow the lead. There's a reason why the UFC, why Bellator, why World Series, why ONE FC hires cutmen. It's not because they just want to throw extra money out there. It's because they're professional and they know it's fucking important. And if you're hosting a professional MMA promotion, you should be doing the fucking same.
Well, I guess we'll end it off on that note. Cheers.
Cheers, my man. Thanks for having me, Ryan. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for coming on the show. I'm so glad that you came out here. It's been a while since I had another live show. Hey, guys, people that I have on as guests, try not to pull out next time. Because, it's shows like this that are, my favorite podcasts to do. And I had a lot of fun. And big shout out to all the cut men out there, because if it wasn't for people like him, people like you out there, people like you out there, we wouldn't have classic moments. Cheers.
Cheers.
And thanks again.
Thank you for listening to the Good Talk podcast with Ryan Ventura. See you next time.